I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck, the Strategic Sales Queen, and today I am joined by one of my favorite special people, Dr. Deb York. And we're going to be talking about how peptides are helping people age well, improve wellness, and enhance quality of life rather than simply getting older. So many people assume that declining energy, slower recovery, and reduced vitality are unavoidable parts of aging. And overcoming these challenges can be frustrating and confusing. But Dr. Deb is going to share how peptide therapies and functional medicine approaches are helping people support healthy aging and improve their overall well being. And I know that you're going to get a whole lot of value out of this episode. And I'd love to invite you to subscribe and give us that 5-star review if you love the show and you love what we're talking about. So, a little bit of background about Dr. Deb York is a functional medicine practitioner, doctor prepared nurse practitioner, psychiatric nurse practitioner, and licensed professional counselor. Oh my. She specializes in helping patients identify and address the root causes of health concerns through personalized wellness strategies, functional medicine, peptides, and advanced therapies designed to support long term health and vitality. So, Dr. Deb, I am so thrilled to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I just love you, Lynn, and I just think, yeah, what you do is great. And yeah, I'm just honored to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Well, this is such a great conversation because I get older every year. So,
Right?
yeah. So I'd love to give you some background because as the nurse practitioner and everything, and you shifted a while ago, of course. But what inspired you to get started helping people improve their health through functional medicine and peptide therapies?
Yeah, so it started back in 2016. So I was newly married a month and I was eating a really good burger. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt bad, like an impending doom hit me. And so I was on a health journey already, and I had started working out in the morning. I was running hard on the treadmill, no problems, no chest pain, no nothing that morning. And then my all of a sudden I just felt bad. So my husband wanted to take me to the ER, and being the stubborn nurse that I am, I told him, "Nope, I'm going to lay down here for a minute, and you're going to read Psalm 91 over me before we do anything." So he did that, and the fear went away. It gave me a peace, like, matter of fact, oof, making me tingle right now, that I would have never imagined. And so, in the car, the chest pain started to subside, and I just knew everything was going to be okay. So by the time I got into the throes of the healthcare system, I experienced what they diagnosed as a heart attack. It was
Oh,
frightening, especially because I didn't understand why it had happened. Long story short, on paper, I had a heart attack. The blockage it showed on the EKG wasn't represented when they did the heart cath. So it was a little bit of a mystery, but I'd like to say that God healed me that day. And yeah, so, it brought up a lot of questions, like, what happened? Why did they not, why did they didn't see anything? Why was I having this experience on paper? But, so anyway, so later on, actually in the last couple years, all the testing, no significant blockages. Well, actually, no blockages, no evidence of a heart attack. Um, so I don't even know what happened, except for I imagine it was inflammation. So, um, but I did not feel anyone was looking deeply enough to understand why all of that happened. They just wanted to put me on the statin and the aspirin, and like what they do with every heart attack victim. So, so that led me into the functional medicine and eventually peptide therapy. And so, my heart story taught me that a diagnosis can name what happened without explaining why it happened. And so that's what made peptide so interesting. So, yeah.
yeah. And the why it happened is really the guidance for the best treatment, right?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So exactly. And that's the purpose of functional medicine, root cause. So, yeah.
Ah, well, makes sense to me, right? And so, for listeners who may be unfamiliar, what are peptides and what problem do they help solve?
Yeah, so I describe peptides as messages, like little text messages in the body, and the body understands them. So they're short chains of amino acids. So just to kind of help understand that, from 2 to 50 is a peptide, and from 50 above is a protein. So the body uses peptides to communicate between the cells and regulate different processes. And different peptides carry different instructions. So depending on the peptide, the signal may relate to repair, recovery, metabolism, immune function, sleep, inflammation, hormone pathways. So, that's why peptide therapy should be targeted. It's not about taking every peptide available or chasing the newest trend, but it's more like specific instructions. So they're targeted messages, not magic. And so, avoid listing every peptide. Yeah. So anyway, it's just peptides are a thing for sure. Let me grab that.
Okay, so it's like pre-protein.
Yes, pre-protein, but signaling the body. That's correct.
Right, right. That they work inside your body, and that's also part of the functional medicine that you do, right?
Y- Yes, it can definitely be used to help people feel better for sure.
Okay. So how do you help um, patients and our clients determine whether peptides may be appropriate for their health goals?
So I never begin with the peptide. I begin with the person.
Right.
Yeah, we want to understand what the patient is experiencing, what they want to improve, what their medical history looks like, and what may be contributing to the problem. So we look at the symptoms, the medications, the labs, lifestyle, inflammation, hormones, metabolism, sleep, nutrition, any safety concerns, obviously. So and then we ask whether a peptide actually makes sense for that person and that goal. They are tools. Like I said, they're not magic, and they should not replace the foundations of health. And
Right.
so my job is to determine whether a peptide can safely support what the body is already trying to do and then monitor the patient's response rather than simply handling them a vial and hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
So,
think that the fact that with the functional medicine, when you're starting there and understanding what's happening and all the different nuances, because you're looking at the root cause, then you're better equipped to determine what's going to serve the individual and what's going to make sense.
yeah. And there are contraindications too. Like, there are some peptides that people can't take. Like, if people are newly diagnosed with cancer, there are a lot of peptides that they advise against. Unfortunately, there's just not enough research to determine that. But it will help. It does help. So,
Yeah, yeah. So if someone has like an sort of what they are sort of constantly battling different inflammation issues, then that would be something that you'd be talking them through to figure out what's really happening. Is there something else that can be addressed first in their lifestyle or their eating habits or something else before you go to peptides? Is that correct?
yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure. You can look at what they're eating, and like sometimes people are sensitive to certain foods, and even though you may not be like rejecting it, like like having an allergy per se, you can still have food sensitivities, and those food sensitivities, it's like when you have an infection, right? There's something bad in your body and all the white blood cells come to attack it, and then when the white blood cells attack it, it lets off a C-reactive protein, and that C-reactive protein determines like if you are inflamed or not. So that will happen with anything. So if you're eating food that your body's saying, no, I don't think we like that, then it will do the same thing. So
Ah,
yeah.
fascinating. I mean, this is really, really interesting. So I'm learning a lot here as we go through. So now I want to ask a curious because we're talking about aging specifically. So
Sure.
why do so many people struggle with the effects of aging, such as low energy, slower recovery, and declining wellness?
Yeah. So there are lots of reasons, but uh, one thing, so obviously, naturally as we age, many people decline faster than they need to because because of the signals that are not getting through. So basically, we have signaling in the body to help our body function properly. And as we age, some of these signals start to go downhill. And so that's why I think like the older generation seem to have more health issues because all of those signals are gone. There's nothing to activate them. And then, of course, doctors are just treating the symptoms, they're not treating the root causes. And so if you look at the root causes, then you can maybe fix some of those problems. So, we accumulate stress, inflammation, poor sleep, nutrient deficiencies, hormone changes, insulin resistance, muscle loss. That's big in the older generation. Environmental exposures, years of habits that may have not been supported. We kill ourselves when we're younger, eating all the crap and all that. And then the problem is that people are often told that the symptoms are normal because they're getting older. So they may be exhausted, losing strength, gaining weight, sleeping poorly, and taking longer to recover. But their basic lab work is called normal. And so
Yeah.
aging is inevitable, but feeling progressively worse should not automatically be accepted as the price of getting older. So we need to ask what is driving the decline and what can still be improved.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, because, you and I both know, like, Susie Pruden, who's gonna be she already just turned 83, and
yeah,
she is like this fireball,
yes,
and
she
you
is.
would never guess that her age was 83 because 'cause she's got so much energy, and yet,
Yeah,
there are other things, that because yeah, I mean, she is 83,
right,
you know,
right. Of
but
course, of course.
because um she still does a lot of physical exercises and things like that, and she's obviously mentally acute. So, I mean, there's definitely things that you can be doing that keep you really on top of things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I mean, I see this myself, and even like my mom will say things like, because she's 89, and she'll say, "Well, I can't do that anymore. Or I'm
mm-hmm.
too old for that, or and it's like, no, because there are people who are 89 that literally go out and hike trails for several hours. So,
Yeah,
um, and it's almost to me, there's a certain part of a mindset that that occurs as well.
yeah, yes.
But
And yeah, because it's an acceptance because, it's like the same thing. Like, if you're told something over and over, then you're going to believe it, right? So if you get, if I'm getting old, so I should, like, I have somebody who works for me and she has some memory issues. And so, I tell her, like, you don't have to deal with that. You can fix it. But she just seems to think it's I don't know, the result of getting older.
yeah, no,
So,
I think that when I was young, I had this aunt and uncle who were like 80 and they were such doers, and I just sort of went, I want to be like them when I grow up. And it was I could see this difference in mindset from they were great aunts and uncles with my grandparents. I mean, I could see a huge difference in how they approach things. And I just
mm,
sort of that I just went, no, this is what I want to be like.
right, right.
But let's talk about this because why is this healthy aging often a blind spot for people until they start experiencing symptoms? Let's sort of dive into this.
Yeah. So most people don't think about healthy aging until something stops working the way it used to. So when we're younger, the body's incredibly forgiving. We can miss sleep, eat poorly, live under chronic stress, lose muscle, ignore warning signs, and then the body keeps compensating. And then eventually that reserve begins to shrink.
Yeah.
So, so the symptoms often appear gradual. The energy drops, the sleep drops, the weight becomes harder to manage, And I think it's honestly a little bit with that is hormones. Like I don't know why they think it's taboo not to give somebody over, I don't know, if you're out of menopause, then you don't need to take hormones, but that's a whole nother podcast. But but for sure, I feel like it's something that we need. So, but healthcare, tends to be reactive. And so they wait until someone has a diagnosis before they intervene. And then rather than looking earlier for the inflammation, the metabolic health, the hormones, all of that stuff. So, healthy age is about paying attention before the body has to start shouting. And
Yeah,
the earlier we identify what is changing, the more opportunity we have to protect function, resilience, and quality of life.
absolutely. And I
So,
agree
yeah.
because there is that reactive thing. You go in and it's just like they want to give you a prescription for something.
Yes, yes,
Or
yes.
and I know I'm going through that right now because I've been essentially fighting a sinus infection for the last
Mm,
it's like into 3 weeks now, but
mm-mm.
I'm not running a fever, at least not when I went into the clinic, right? And she's going like, well, if these things don't work, then I'll give you this super duper headache medicine that's like, and I'm going like, I don't I mean, there's gotta be something going on that to it's anyway, it's to me, I just, like, I really wanna understand what I have what, else I can do.
Yes.
Just throwing new prescriptions at it, and of course, if that's what I really need, okay. Sometimes you
Right,
do. You
right,
really need
right,
amoxicillin or what have you. I happen to be
right.
allergic to all sulfa-based drugs, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but it's like I wanna make sure that this is the right course for me, and I found that too with other places, like, that it's just like, well, I don't want just another prescription, it's like, what else can I do, um, rather than, like, you go to a dermatologist and they wanna give you new stuff to put on chemicals to put on your
Mm,
face, and I'm
right.
going like, "Well, what else can I be doing that could help clear this up?" And there are other things I can do that solve the problem without the chemicals.
Yeah.
I'm totally
Yeah.
with you, and there's
Yeah.
absolutely a place for all the medicine and real things. I mean, my late husband went through terminal cancer, and I'm so appreciative of everything that UW Medicine did for him. And so but for some of these other I mean, there's just levels. You're a nurse practitioner, you know all this stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know, but we can talk, or I can help you with that too, because the one thing I do, matter of fact, a friend of mine is sick right now, and he came yesterday, and what I do, another thing I do on the side here is ozone. So you just breathe it like it's oxygen, and so that's what he did. And matter of fact, I just checked on him not too long ago, and he's feeling better than he was yesterday. So yeah, so it's there's stuff out there. You just have to know where to go and what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So, what are some practical steps listeners can take today to support healthy aging and overall wellness? What are some things that they should really be looking at?
Yeah, so I always tell people to begin with the foundations, because peptides cannot compensate for everything else being neglected. You want to start by protecting your sleep and eating enough protein. That's a big one in the aging piece, and I don't think people realize. I've told several people that in the last few weeks, and they didn't. They were surprised, but they're saying like we should be eating 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. So if you're not eating that, so that helps with building and maintaining muscle. And then, moving regularly, staying hydrated, paying attention to blood sugar and stress, and then stop ignoring symptoms just because someone says they're part of getting older, right? So the fatigue, the poor sleep, the brain fog, the memory, the muscle loss, weight changes, slower recovery to do things. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons I went on peptides, because I injured my arm, just reaching for something in the back of the car, and I'm like, this is not right. So anyway, so that's how I fixed it with peptides. But anyway, but get good information about your body. Maybe look at some genetic stuff, that'll help as well. And of course, a lifestyle changes always helps, and um, just trying to see. On the genetic end, just trying to see what doesn't work in your body. Sometimes that's the problem with health problems in general. So anyone who wants to learn more about peptides and whether they may be appropriate for their goals, I do have educational information on that link that Lynn can give you. So it's I've named myself the Nashville's peptide doctor. And so it's a good place to begin before deciding whether a personal consultation makes sense. So don't
Yeah.
start with the peptides. Start by understanding what your body is asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Don't just try some, without actually having some good information so you know that you're going in the right direction. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Deb, is there anything you wish that I'd asked you that I have not?
Yeah, so I wish more people would ask where their peptides are coming from. There
Huh?
is a lot of black market, gray market stuff out there, research grade. Not all peptides are created equal. Patients should know who is prescribing them, where the product comes from, and what quality standards and accountability exist. And price, yes, I know price is a thing, and that's probably why people go to these gray and black markets, but we don't know the purity of those products. We don't know, and if they're not doing third party testing, you don't know what you're putting in your body. You could be causing all kinds of havoc by getting some of those peptides. So I'm
Yeah.
very intentional about that. And for me, I definitely want a reputable source, appropriate quality controls, accountability. So they can be really good power tools if you get the right stuff. So i
Yeah.
i am affiliated with LEMD, which is basically a concierge telemedicine, and they really are an amazing company, and they are about quality. The founder has an excellent little story. She started doing this because when she was a little girl, she used to work in nursing homes, and those were her friends, and she wanted her friends to live longer.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
No,
sweet.
and the quality of the product is so important because,
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting it in your body.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So, Dr. Deb, I'd love to have you share. Thank you so much for sharing how peptides are impacting lives for aging well instead of just getting older. And you just said that you're going to share with our listeners how they can connect with you and find out more about you. And I did drop that link in the chat.
Okay.
But go ahead and just let people know what their that first step would be.
Yeah, so with basically I have like a link on that website that has a phone number, so you can just text peptides, and then I can connect you with a there is a little quiz you can take to kind of see which peptide might be good for you.
Hmm.
And so that once we get those answers, then we can chat about it. I'll be happy to do like a quick consult, just so people usually have questions, even though there's plenty of I don't know, websites great, but I think a person chatting is always a good thing. So
Yeah, especially somebody with your level of expertise. So, wow, that's very generous. So, Dr. Deb, thank you so much, and thank you to
yeah.
all of our listeners. I have found this a fascinating conversation. I've actually learned a lot, and it's been very informative. And I want to thank you
Great.
all for joining us because that's why we come and do this every week. And so, thank you, and Dr. Deb,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm so glad we
Yes.
did this today.
Thank you. And just remember, the body was designed to heal. And when we restore function and provide the right signals, healing can follow, and knowledge replaces fear.
All right. That's
Thank
perfect.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.